Is that not right? Or are Māori Wards boundary-less? Is that really it? My time is up? Oh, well then, Madam Chair, I object to your ruling. I will leave this. I had a little more to go, and I think that it far, far, far exceeds the generosity that you've given to other presenters. Thank you.
Can I explain today that you're the first individual person to be speaking? The others have presented on behalf of large groups and therefore have been given more time. You're the first individual. Can I now please call Inadvertent Pride?
Tēnā koe, te rangatira o te kaunihira Judy, tēnei te mihi mahana kia koe, tēnei te mihi kia kaitai nā mema o te komiti, tēnei te mihi kia kaitai kapua. Check. Today, this council has been given an opportunity to define a pathway and future for our community. It is a future that better reflects partnership, equity and principle by providing opportunity for tangata whenua to share in the decision making that affects their day-to-day lives. By saying yes to the establishment of Māori Wards, councillors will need to demonstrate the type of courageous leadership that will be required to navigate a new future. A new future where it's okay if one shoe does not fit all. Where the acknowledgement of our differences as Māori and Pākehā are embraced, not feared, ignored or homogenised. That the diversity in thinking and behaviour in this chamber contributes to innovative and creative decisions that benefit us all. This district needs decisive leadership that acts on knowledge and understanding of what separatism and special treatment really means. For me and many others, separatism means keep Māori out by using the tyranny of democracy, because as a minority, Māori will never ever have a voice. I work in an area where I see the special treatment of Māori every minute of my day. Many Māori whānau are trapped in a system that dehumanises and takes away their ability to make choices that others in our community take for granted. I see from the inside the special treatment dished out by the systems of oranga tamariki, justice, welfare, policing, where Māori as a minority are overrepresented in this country's shameful and negative statistics. Next time anyone says Māori are getting special treatment, damn right they are. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. But despite the discourse led by the Don Brashes of the world and the previous speaker, David, as to why you cannot establish Māori Wards, let's remember the reasons why you should, because they far outweigh the reasons why you shouldn't. While a core function of this council is to ensure a sustainable ratepayer base so that we can enjoy our parks and reserves, support infrastructure and development, many of us in this room know that there is a strong correlation between maintaining that taxpayer base and the opportunity for council to leverage the burgeoning Māori economy in this district. A yes decision today sends a strong message to iwi and the many Māori trusts that their millions of dollars of contribution and investment into this local economy is recognised and valued at this table. By saying yes to Māori Wards, you are signalling yes to work alongside iwi and Māori to grow not only the Māori economy, but the economic, social and environmental value of this community and all of its people contained within. I want to acknowledge the Bay of Plenty Regional Council, who showed courage and took that leap of faith many moons ago to create Māori Wards. It can be done. And as somebody said earlier, nobody lost sleep over it, nobody died. In actual fact, some can even say that they're doing extremely well. A yes or no decision by this council will be one of those moments in time that will define not only this council and all it stands for, but each individual councillor and every decision that you make from this point forward. Because all of your decisions will be measured on how you voted today. Give us, give Māori, give your community that symbolic gesture that says you want Māori and iwi to be a part of this community by enabling a fairer system of democracy by saying yes to Māori Wards. Kua mutu taku kōrero, no reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou.
Thank you, Liz. Can I please invite one of these speakers to come up? From now on, we'll give you a 30-second warning when the 5 minutes is nearly up. Is that okay?
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Moana Biddle Stensness tōku ingoa. He tamaiti a hau no te kohu. Mai rua toki tāne atua waimana waiohau me mauna pōhatu. Ko taiari hia tōku mauna. Ko ohine matoroa tōku tūpuna awa. Ko tūhoi tōku iwi, ko te māhurehure tōku hapu. Ko boi rawa ko Maureen Biddle o ku mātua. Nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. I've just provided you with a snippet of my pepeha and my whakapapa. Whakapapa is everything to tūturu Māori. Everything. I'm not here to plead to councillors for their vote. Ka, no. I would hope that you've already made the sensible, logical and tika, the right decision to support establishing Māori wards in this district. It is our time, it is now, by Māori, for Māori. Simply, I'm here, ooh, damn, that's loud. Simply, I'm here to plead to, I'm here on behalf of my whakapapa, past, present and future. I sit not alone here. I carry the thoughts, aspirations, mana, wehi, ihi of at least 200 people, including my mokopuna yet unborn. I am but a vessel and a legacy of my whakapapa, past, present and future. My papa, his papa, my graua, his graua and my tipuna graua spanning back at least 5 generations of my whakapapa, have fought the right fight for Māori. All these men, strong, staunch advocates for equality for Māori, the well-being of Māori, fair education and economic process of their whānau, hapu, iwi, kura and hapori. Much of my papa and tipuna fighting valiantly against the Pākehā system for equal rights and economic growth for Māori is written in our history books, and I am proud, very proud. No words can actually explain how proud I am. I witnessed this valiant fighting through my papa, who sat on the Tāneatua Community Board for years, fighting that Māori voice to be heard, and he was heard. If anybody knows my papa, he was heard. He sat on trust boards, hapu boards, iwi boards for many years, fighting the right fight. For Māori to be heard at that table, that elusive table. Therefore, it is deeply entrenched and natural for me to carry on the right fight. For not just my whānau, but all Māori whānau in our district. It is indeed the reason why I studied law, because I wanted to fight for the rights of Māori, because I have grown up in a district that pēhi us. By Māori, for Māori. Mate atu he te kura, ara mai he te kura. That is us as Māori. When one dies, one will rise. As tāngata whenua, it is our right and it is tika. It is right. It is our time to sit at the decision-making table without any more barriers or hoha, to stop our progress. Kua roa rawa tātou e whawhai ana I tēnei whawhai, kua hoha katoa. And it is time to step into the realm of partnership, understanding, and working together for the benefit of our whole district. We are predominantly Māori populated, so it makes sense, and it is tika to have Māori sit at the decision-making table. Māori have been walking down this arduous road of targeted obstructed oppression, marginalisation and suppression since colonisation, simply because we're Māori. Kei te he, and let's write it. Tika today. Seize the moment now. Make the tika decision today in support of the wards, of the Māori wards. Leave a written record for your mokopuna to read, for your whakapapa to be proud of. When you do vote yes to Māori wards, how proud will your future mokopuna be to read of the support on this momentous occasion? Just as my tupuna have been recorded in history as staunch advocates for equal rights for Māori, your names will also be etched in history for your mokopuna and your whakapapa to read and be proud of as well. Nō reira tēnā koutou katoa, please support Māori today and make the right decision.
Can I invite Jackie Tiamoe?
Hapaiti ana kauni he rau te motu nā rawa whakawhanau nā kia pūmau ki te tika ki te pono whakaorati a te hāpori tirohana heke hehi. Tuku ana harawa ki te hāpori whakatipurana ui a te whakaro akorana rangatira kia rangona te Māori. O nā rawa kaina hehi, e rere te punawa I au whakamua kia pakari ko tahi te taia, ko tahi te tanata, ko tahi te taia, ko tahi te tanata, mana waratia e. Kia ora tātou. Hei te whare te nā koutou, ka mihi a ke rā, a ki nā pāke ke whai waina nui a tātou. Nā kuia, nā koraua, me ki rā nā ati awa ki te whenua, nā ati awa tanata, Tēnā koutou. Me he kau atu ana ki a koe e te manukura, e Judy, me tō hoa, e Andrew. E arahi nei tō tātou nei rohe tēnā kōrua. Mihi hoki ki nā mema i runa i tēnei pāri o te kaunihera. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Kia ora wiwi mai tātou katoa. E kore rā e mutu nei nā mihi ki nā mea i tūtū mai i mua i āhau. Me ki rā nā minita, te minita na nāia. Me te aha, kai te hari kua katoa. Poro whiu atu tēnā pire, kai te tautoko. Mi hoki kia Kiritapu Ellen. Kua roa kēnei e mahi ana i roto i tō tātou nei rohe. Ai tika ana ke mihi atu ki aia, nā manaakitana ki runa i aia e whawhai nei roto i te hōhipera ao tira me tana whānau. Mihi hoki e hika mā, me ki rā ki nā ranatira o nā iwi, i tūtū mai rā i mua tonu i āhau tēnā koutou. Tēnā koutou e whakaputa nei nā kare āroto, mō a tātou hāpore, mō te huna e noho mai ana i te kāinga, nei te mihi atu rā kia koutou. Me ki rā mātātua waka etu. Mātātua waka etu. Kua roa kēnei tātou e noho ana i roto i te pōkau, i roto i te noi kore. Ka hia nei nā tau, hoki mai ana hau te whare wānana ki taku mārua rua tāhuna. Kai te noho pērā tonua rua tāhuna. Arua atoki, a te wai o hau, amuru para. Koe nā te paina o te tono te tuku i nā tamariki ki waho, ki te whai te mātaurana, te manāpoka hoki mai rātau, ki te aha, ki te mahi te kāina. Nō reira, nei nā taku kuia tuku atu, ki te whare wānana nā kua hoki mai, ki te kāina, ki te awhi nā kaupapa, kai te kāina. Nō reira, kua hau ko teki, pakeke mai au i rua tāhuna, i pakeke mai ahau i roto i taku reo. I pakeke mai ahau i roto i taku reo, i roto i nā tikana o taku iwi. Ka amutu teki te atu, teki te mai, kārehe Māori i koneina i runa i tēnei pā. Kārehe Māori ko tahi noi hopea ko Leslie, e whakapapātu ana, e tahi wahana o Andrew, e nari e hika mā. Kai konei au e meana, me ki te a kanohi koe i roto i nā kaupapa. Me ki te a kanohi koe e tautoko mai ana i nā kaupapa. Koe rā te mana ako nā iwi o te kāina, o nā hapu o te kāina. E harai te mea he tūru noiho. Nō reira i kuna au e hamahama hi ana i a koe e Alison i runa i te pukamata. Ki hea rā hamahama i a koe. Ko e hia tai mau e kōrero ana i roto i nā hui. Ko tōu tūru, ko tōu mahi, he kōrero mo nā hapu mo nā hāpori e whitu o Karatia, kuhā waia o Murupara. E whitu ko rua tāhuna ko mauna ko hatu ko mingi nui ko te whaiti, ara ko te wai o hau, ara nā kāina, nā pākeke. Nā reira, o koutou tonu, nā mea kai roto i te rohe, e pōti mai ana mo wēneina. Kai konei māua ko tauni e hama atu ana, ko te pūwā hai kārere i te tuata. Pūwā hai kia Jackie, kia Tauni, kia wai atu, nā mea kai roto i wēnei mahi. Ko te waha noi hoka i te re. Nō reira, kia koutou mā, nā Māori e noho mai ana i roto i wēnei hāpori. Hea tātou, kā noho ki te mahi tahi. Neha.
Your time.
Nō reira. Kai konei rā, kāre au, kai au te hea te whakapāke hai waku kōrero. Kai konā te mea Māori e mōhio ana, me taku mōhio he tanata Māori e tuhi ana i roto i nā meneti o tēnei kaunihera. Hoi anō e tū ana hau, ki te ki atu kia koe e Alison, anei a rua tāhune e meana kia koe, e tohu ana kia koe, me ki ai, i tēnei rā. E tautoko ana i nā pākeke i mua i āhau, kua hōhā hau. Kua hōhā hau ki te inoi atu kia koe, kare au mo te inoi, kai te tohu au kia koe. Ana, ki mai ai, no reira e hika mā, kai raro, kia ora tātou.
I now invite Cec McKinnon to come up and speak.
Tēnā koutou. Mayor Judy and councillors, the opportunity to speak to the issue of Māori wards is appreciated. Thank you. I feel I'm rowing the waka in a different manner though today. I understand that this is an emotive topic for many of us here, no matter which side of the debate we fall on, and as such I've endeavoured to lay out my thoughts in a simple manner. I have two main issues with the implementation of Māori wards. One is regarding democracy in the treaty, the other is the continued mana of Māori. It is my belief that central government is disguising directives as the will of the people, fuelled by an extra 10,000 more bureaucrats to destabilise our colonial democratic system. Central government has made it abundantly clear to you that when it comes to Māori wards, council are not to consider whether this would be a democratic decision, one involving a referenda of all our people, but instead base your decision on an interpretation of the Treaty of Waitangi that best suits central government's agenda. I say an interpretation. The most fashionable interpretation sees the treaty showing a partnership between two collectives and demands that everything in New Zealand should be working towards an effective partnership between mana whenua, central and local government. The alternative view is to look at what the actual document said, specifically what the Māori version said in modern English, that the Crown would give all the people of New Zealand in the unqualified exercise of their chieftainship over their lands, villages and all their treasures, and all the ordinary people of New Zealand will give them the same rights and duties of citizenship. In short, that we are all one people who have the same rights under the Crown. With our democracy, our...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Cec. Can I just ask that people act respectfully in this situation? We wanted to hear everybody's position. So we just kind of...
Thank you, Mayor Judy. Now, I am not here to tell you which interpretation of the treaty is correct. However, if you choose to accept the populist definition and the minister's aspirations, you also need to consider that we are not a little town with one iwi. We have 35 iwi in the area, 260 hapu, 224 marae. If you truly believe that the treaty aims for co-government, then you need to be doing more than virtue signalling by installing 2, 3, 5 Māori wards. That would leave the gross majority of iwi in this area without representation, and very likely major issues will arise. If, however, like me, you believe in a second interpretation, then you need to turn away from central government's edicts and focus on democracy being the core principle of our wonderful country. Māori can and are elected in our local body elections. They put up their hands. Main roll, Māori roll, do the mahi and get elected. Jean Evers, Ted Butt, Doug Wright, Peroto, Russell, Alison, Leslie and plenty more are proof of this. Māori actively participate in the local authority decision-making process. It's already happening here, either through the Māori roll or the main roll. They contribute to a team as a whole, as a council of duly elected people, as you are, making decisions for all citizens of all ethnicities, religious orientation and gender. You've already established and maintained processes to provide opportunities for Māori. Their voices, their opinions and contributions are already facilitated. This ain't broke, so don't fix it just because Nanaia Mahuta established a review into the future local government. She has no crystal ball for 30 years, she's guessing.
30 seconds.
The other point I'd like to make, perhaps the most important one, is the political correctness is not only divisive, but it seriously devalues Māori in our community as a whole. It alienates them, degrades them for giving them something for nothing. Central government doesn't think Maori are smart enough to get elected on a normal way? Do they consider Maori inferior? It sounds like it to me. They're degrading Maori worth. Mayor Judy and councillors, you should not continue this humiliation. Do not capitulate. You don't have to agree to central government's dirty work. Ngā mihi.
Could I now please invite Erin Green to come and speak? Thank you, Erin.
Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Erin Green, tōku ingoa, ko tangata te Tiriti, tōku iwi, I tipi mai hau I Piopio, I nai nei ko Whakatāne, taku wākaunga noho, I tōku Whakatāne, louder? Okay. Tōku whāo maua, tamariki a tākua. Ko Ngāti Tahu, Ngāti Whāua, te iwi o tōku Whakatāne, aku tamariki koki. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Firstly, a mihi to Ngāti Awa, and kaumātua here today, tasa rangatira of Mātātua. I acknowledge your ongoing work and patience in the face of my fellow Pākehā. Okay, I don't know my back's to, but okay.
Thanks, Erin.
That's okay. I feel uncomfortable having my back to people. Right. Secondly, to councillors, so to the rangatira of Mātātua, I acknowledge your ongoing work for your people in this community. To councillors and Madam Mayor, I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak and the process that we have in place to let this happen. Thirdly, to Te Roku Tautoko Māori and my friends, I thank you for the work that you guys have done supporting this important kaupapa and all the supporters in our community here today advocating for this change. Finally, I thank my son and the tamariki of Te Kura o Te Tiko, because this is who we're all here for, right? So I speak as Pākehā, a privileged Pākehā that has the privilege of often being in Māori-led spaces, both as part of whānau and as part of my work, and all the benefits of our experience as part of that. So I urge Council to make space for that benefit, for an ao Māori worldview, for the values that brings, and the perspectives that brings, and the richness to decision making that brings, not only for you personally as councillors, but for the decisions that you're making on behalf of our community. So that's acknowledging the structures that are currently in place and actively working to dismantle them and get a fairer voice. So I speak as Pākehā as an antithesis to my previous submitter here today. That rhetoric is old news. There's no space for it now. As a professional who has experience creating the laws in New Zealand and recrafting laws to make them fit for purpose, I also would like to shut down hiding behind legal language, as the previous presenter did, about sticking to democratic systems. The law is designed to serve us, and we should be changing it to meet our needs and do what's right. So I don't have anything of new to speak to today, but instead I just tautoko the challenge that's been issued today by tangata whenua and their supporters, and urge you to listen, to make space for this decision, and to be on the right side of history. As the saying goes, it's never too late to do the right thing. And I urge you to send a strong message with a unanimous vote in a community that is almost 50% Māori. If we do, I feel really hopeful for a future of working together to make better decisions to all the challenges that we face as a community, a country and a planet. It's a baby step, but it's a really important one for signalling change. Ngā mihi nui, kia tātou.
I've just received my notes. Mai kia ora tātou, kia ora mai tātou kua mino mai tēnei rā. E tautoko ana I wā tātou kōrero, e kōrero hāpai ana I tēnei kaupapa, kia tū ngā tūru Māori kiringa I tēnei kainihira. E mihi atu ana kia koutou katoa, whai te white atu I te maha, e noho mai ana, e tautoko mai ana. Tēnā koutou.
Kia ora.
E tēnā koutou te kainihira. Yes, my first kōrero here for the kainihira is I want to say a big thank you for the positivity of the 2017 decision, and I've come here today led by my dad's philosophy, and his philosophy was faith can move mountains, but take a spade just in case. and so after this, I'm actually going to invest in a rotary home and see where that gets us. He'll be very proud of me for using those words of wisdom that he instilled in us. Yes. And as I walked in, I heard some reference to my big brother, Whakatāne, and we're all going on this whānau haere on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd of June. Yes, so I've been really quite stressed out getting the itinerary ready, and my son said to me, what do you think is going to be the outcome of today's hui at the council? And he started saying the names on his one hand, and he said, it's going to have the same outcome. There's going to be 5 against and 6 supporting. And I says, well, son, you know, if that happens, that's still past the post. Yeah. So, getting into the kaupapa, as I said, I've only just got my notes and I haven't highlighted the special ones that I want to talk about. However, I'll narrow it down to my actual experience with councils. And I was brought up in a home where Māori was the only spoken language. And by the time council matters started to impact on our papa, all the older siblings had left home. And so he would have all these people visiting, and at that time they were governed under the county council. And he'd choose someone to translate the letter for him that he was advocating for people who lost their lands because they could not afford the rates. And so my kōrero today is I believe that having the Māori Wards is going to really make a difference to the way the rates are paid and managed and implemented onto community projects. About 5 years ago, I was assigned a task where the rates debt was 42,000.
30 seconds.
And really? And I came in here because the trustees didn't really know what was going on. And okay, if I've only got 10 seconds left, the short and tall of the story is, came in here, spent over 100 hours toing and froing, and my thoughts as we were on that journey was gee, that council needs to do a radical overhaul of its rates department. And the outcome was anyway, the council was paid $43,000. And it was because we had reconciled, Diane and I had reconciled all the things that couldn't be matched, and they were paid $43,000 anyway. And when I sat down to calculate all the money that had gone into that, it worked out at income generation of just over $200 an hour. That's what that worked out to. And so I'm here to say the first thing, one of the first things for council, if they have these Māori wards, is that the representatives on those wards will no doubt do a lot of groundwork. And so that's why, one of the reasons why I support establishment of the Māori wards. And again, I say thank you very much. I'm off to buy my rotary hay now.
Can I now invite Waikumete Regional Councillors Troy Easy and Bill Clark to come speak to us? Thank you.
Councillor? Tēnā rā tātou. Kia ora. He rawe ki te kite o tautau kānui kei kona i kei ruki tēnei pare, mō tēnei kaupapa nui, nō reira huri no e te whare. Tēnā rā tātou. You know, there's a part of me that wants to play to the crowd behind me because there's an election next year. And who knows, TPN might want to make another run for it. But that's actually not the kaupapa. The kaupapa is to come to talk to you fellas. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, nā rangatira o te tepu nei. Kia ora from the Regional Council, toi moana. I bring you greetings and I bring you the face of partnership in local government. I'm sorry, it's not such a very good looking face. But partnership isn't always pretty. And especially in local government. Hey, we've been doing it over 17 years now. And I feel like we're still at the starting line. That is the truth. So we're coming to you today as colleagues, as local government professionals. And the reality is, Matua Leaf said from Ngāti Rangatihi, there is a pathway. This is the start of it. We're facing that as a regional council. Just because I'm here, I do not carry all of the burden of Māori's aspirations on my shoulders. Kau. That is for all of the councillors. So we've just made reform in our committee Māori, going from the 3 constituency Māori councillors as well as 3 general councillors, and made it a committee of the whole of council. Because the burden is upon each and every one of you. And that's just the reality of partnership. It's nothing to be scared of. It's actually an opportunity. Nō reira, in the spirit of partnership, I'm going to hand it over to Councillor Clark, and he can talk to you from the taha tangata tiriti in this partnership. And kia ora.
Kia ora. Kia ora tātou rangatira mā. Today really it's the big pātai nui ki tēnei rā is of course the Māori wards. Now my first pātai to you is how did it happen? In the 2019 elections, that 47% of the demographic here who fielded 11 out of 30 candidates got a majority in 2 wards and never made it to this table. There is a blemish on our democracy somehow in that space. The other reality of it is that looking around the space and knowing, having sat at this table many years ago and now sitting at a different table, which actually has 3 Māori constituents serving it well, that in the face of the political pragmatism of today, I cannot imagine how a rohi like Whakatāne can function effectively without effective, genuine, and I mean genuine, Māori representation at this table. And it's not a token thing, it's a practical living thing in the space that Toy and I work in, that what he and the other Māori representatives bring to the table is an invaluable political working everyday tool for us as a regional council. It's down to the hands-on business and areas of mataronga and areas of knowledge of the whenua, and particularly in the areas of knowing that when you tread in te ao Māori, you have to tread very quietly and very carefully, because that's a tricky one. And I don't think a lot of us Pākehās really understand how tricky that space can be, and this is my white walking stick. Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. So, in this, so what I'm here today basically is around this table where this decision is going to be made in terms of unity for this rohi going forward. I think it would be an amazing, unifying, positive event if the decision to introduce Māori wards from this table was a unanimous vote. Kia ora.
Kia ora. I just wanted to wrap it up before we, under the cover of letting the tangata whenua have the last word, kia ora, Councillor partnership. Councillor Clark is right. This is not about, you know, the emotive. For myself, from a local government perspective, this is about doing the business of local government. You guys are all aware of the reforms that are getting thrown. It's a tsunami, to use a geographically specific analogy. It is a tsunami coming this way of reform. To not have guaranteed Māori voices around this table would be a folly for this forum. And the truth is that the legislators legislate. They could legislate this whole forum out of existence. We have no choice. As local government professionals, we must have Māori voices around this table. So, Oreira, I'm with Councillor Clark. Let's have a unanimous vote. I look forward to working with all of you in the future. Tēnā rā tātou. Kia ora.
Just before I call the next speaker, I just have to get Council to agree that we've got another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 speakers. Individual speakers, not groups. Can I will move that we extend our 2-hour period to complete this in one session. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Oz. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Continue. Okay, can I now please call Jack Nightingale?
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, Whakatāne. I've lived almost all I'm nearly 90 years old, and I've lived all my life in New Zealand. My lineage goes back many pre-grandparents' generations, so I too am claiming the right to speak as a tangata whenua of New Zealand.
Your Honour, Councillors, excuse me, I'll just get this out of the way. Thank you for giving me this invitation to speak here today. As you're already well aware, in the last elections, the Māori Party scored 1.2% of the total Māori vote in New Zealand. Of that vote, at a generous guesstimate, Ms. Tahuta scored 0.4% of that vote. If you take 0.4% of 1.2, she scored less than half of 1% of the Māori vote in New Zealand. Yet on the strength of that very weak vote, she introduced a bill into Parliament which was supported by the Labour government and eventually passed into law. Now, sorry, that interrupted me then. The Labour Party in the pre-election campaigns made no mention of standing for Māori wards, so people had no opportunity to discuss the pros and cons. When the bill was passed, it was passed on urgency, so once again any people with anti sentiments were given no opportunity to discuss that bill. It was passed denying New Zealanders the right to express an opinion. In other words, 5 million New Zealanders were deprived of the freedom of speech to present just one viewpoint, and an emotional viewpoint at that. The Treaty of Waitangi gives Maori equality with Pākehā. It does not give them preferential treatment over and above equality. In our community there are other races. There are Chinese, Indian, other Asian races, other races of non-Anglo-Saxon white lineage. They do not, overall they have a better work ethic. They contribute more to the local economy. Sorry, I cannot hear you.
Just asking people for a bit of quiet, just so we can see.
They contribute more to the local economy. They are not so well represented on unemployment, sickness and other welfare benefits. They do not indulge in so many violent outbursts outside the pubs or anywhere else. They don't form criminal gangs. They do not form criminal gangs, and they do not impose disproportionate rights on the police and corrections department's personnel and resources. Now, in the possible decision to impose deplorable Māori wards, our community has not been given very much in the way of information. So this is in some respects just a token meeting. We've not been told how many wards are going to be established. Are they going to be established on a population basis with Maori population to wards ratio the same as at present exists in our existing wards, or are they be given a lower population ratio which will benefit Maori? Are they going to be given on a tribal or an area basis which will again favour Maori? If the wards are formed, then necessarily more costs will arise in the form of salaries. In the form of salaries, travel costs, incidental subcommittee meetings, meals, incidental expenses, and other expenses. On a population basis and on a productivity basis, these costs are going to be mainly covered by non-Maori races. How are the council going to fund these? By increasing the rates? By taking out a loan? By rating unrated Maori lands? Sorry. Is my time up, is it? Okay, well look, I'd just like you to consider, I've had to abbreviate my notes very much because of time, but I would like the council to say that before we were denied the freedom of speech, our community, and I've had a lot of support through the recent letters I've had through Beacon, so our community has given me a lot of support, and in the last vote the community showed in a democratic vote that it supports, it does not support Māori wards. Thank you, Your Honour, thank you, councillors.
What I'm going to suggest now is we've actually had a couple of requests from around the table here from people who just asked if we have a 5-minute break. So we're going to have literally that, a 5-minute break, and then we'll be resuming back. When we get back, we're going to hear a pre-recorded presentation from Māori.